This week on Voices of Valor, I sat down with retired Air Force nurse officer Angela Paige. She opened up about some of her missions caring for service members who were sick or injured overseas. Here's her story. So, Angela, kind of tell me about your childhood.
I was born in San Antonio, Texas, to a military man and his wife, Annie Paige, born in San Antonio, Texas, and Fort Sam Houston Hospital. So I came as a military brat.
And so you grew up in the military lifestyle?
We did, except for the time that my dad did his 2 tours in Vietnam. So, of course, we stayed here.
So kind of tell me how it was, you were in the military, but how was it growing up seeing your parents be in the military?
Well, moving is always a challenge. And our first base that I can actually remember was in Maryland. And of course, you're going to school. I started preschool there. I don't remember much about that, but then our next assignment was in Asmara, Ethiopia. And I was there for 3 years. I started my first grade in Africa. Of course, they were all American students, so it wasn't really a big challenge in school, but we lived in an African village, which was really, I didn't embrace it at the time, but now I do from the few memories that I have with going to school and living out there in the hot weather and, of course, the different things that you eat. But that's part of traveling.
And so you've been to all these incredible places. Did you like Africa, or did you like necessarily maybe getting to experience new things in these places, even though maybe it wasn't the best for you to maybe move around a lot?
Well, after Africa, we came back to North Carolina because from there, my dad was going to Vietnam. And when he came back, we thought we were getting ready to move to Virginia, and they sent him back to Vietnam. So my mom was I'm just going to prepare to stay here. They built the house. They stayed in the area where we were close to military. And his next assignment when he did come back was Fort Bragg. Well, we had a house here, so we just traveled back and forth, but I actually grew up in Pollocksville, which is 2 hours from where my dad was stationed. So my mom wanted us more stationary, and then my dad was at Fort Bragg. So we were going back and forth there. So I know a lot of people.
Wow, okay. So for you, why did you want to join the military?
When I first graduated from high school, they had a buddy program, and I wanted to join the Army. My mother wasn't fond of the idea, and my dad told me I was too lazy. So I didn't join at that time. But my 3rd year in college, I joined the Air Force ROTC at North Carolina A&T State University. So I was able to go to school like my mom wanted and still be in the military. So I was commissioned there in 1983 and left there and joined the hottest place, what I thought was the hottest place, Biloxi, Mississippi at Keesler Air Force Base. And I was there for 3 years.
And so tell me about that experience when you were there.
I graduated from A&T as a nurse. So when you go to the military, they send you to a medical training facility with just medical officers, and a lot of them didn't do basic training like I did because I was in ROTC. Some of them were automatically assigned because if you graduate with a medical degree, it's easy for you to surpass certain things because you're in a much needed career. So my training, I learned a lot with the doctors because they came right on in. I had some training. I didn't ever think that was fair. You outrank me. but I have to train you. But, you know, you learn a lot, and you just go with the flow sometimes. That wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. My focus then was, of course, you're away from home again, which now, because of my previous travel, I was able to adjust quicker than some of the others because I was used to it. And having the training with ROTC made my first initial assignment not as challenging as it was for some.
And what was your actual assignment or job you did while you were in service?
Air Force nursing, when you come in, it's whatever's available. It's not what you want, it's what's available at the time. So my first assignment was in a medical surgical floor where you have everything. I wanted pediatrics, but that's not what I got. So I did that, and then I did oncology nursing. Another assignment I really didn't like. I did it for 3 years, though. And if you know about oncology and working with cancer patients, that's really a challenge, especially when you see young military experiencing a disease that you think is just about older people. And then even back then, people didn't even really talk about cancer a lot. Now, you know, you got all the promotions and the information and the resources. It's a lot easier. But then it was scary. So after the 3rd year, I asked for a reassignment. I got one. They sent me to Germany. We were there 3 years. My first year there was an assignment open in air medical nursing. I wasn't that fond of that because I'm not really fond of flying, which you think is unusual for somebody that's in the Air Force. But when you're flying with sick people, that's a real challenge. And that's what my job was done, preparing people over in the area, all over Europe, to come to our unit to prep to go to Andrews Air Force Base for further treatment. Or they were coming back from war, because I was over there doing Desert Storm. And that's where I saw a lot of different young. When you're young and that far away from home, that's a very emotional time for a lot of people. So I only stayed in that area a year because there was a shortage in labor and delivery, and during the nights that we'd be waiting for flights, depending on the weather or whatever was happening, you may get a delay after delay after delay. So I'd go to other floors because I just like being busy. I'm not one to just sit and read like some folks did, or some of them were taking classes, but I wasn't. And I would just go find out what was busiest, what was happening. And it ended up being labor and delivery. And I had a good friend up there that walked me through the steps, and that worked for me. And I stayed in labor and delivery for 14 years. So I think I kind of liked it. And it kind of liked me. It wasn't what I liked initially. Never thought about that. Didn't want to be around screaming women. But after a while, you tune it out, and you know what's happening, and you understand why it's happening, and it makes it easier and very rewarding as opposed to when I did oncology nursing. But being in Germany, I learned a lot because it was so much going on, and that's the career I ended in over there. And then once I left there, everything else was admin. I wasn't a floor nurse. You get the assignment that they give to you, and I wasn't fond of administration stuff. I want to be out there where things are happening and doing nursing. Paperwork, it's got to be done. And when I got out of the Air Force, if you didn't do your paperwork, you didn't get paid. So I had to get good at that sooner or later. But I did 7 active, took a break because I had my family that I wanted to prioritize and work with, because my husband was also military. So both of us over in Germany and a baby away from our family. So one of us had to go, and it was me. But once he started walking, I came back as a reservist, and that worked perfect for me at that time. So I retired in 2007 after 20 years. But now what I do with the military is I work with a group called the National Association for Black Veterans. This attire. I'm still in military attire.
Okay.
And a volunteer now, and help those that are still trying to adjust to getting out, or whatever their benefits are that they need as far as continuing on, whether they're in or out of the military. So that's quite rewarding too. But I'm gonna stay attached to the military until.
So, look, we read news stories all the time, and we'll say they were airlifted to the hospital. So you're out there, you've experienced this firsthand. Talk to me about the actual experience of flying in a hectic situation with a sick person. Like, what is it like?
You know, when you say that, it's a blur, because you're in the zone of making sure you can try to help them out. Because I don't know whether you're seeing blood, or if you're trying to check and make sure that they're alert, or talking to them while they're feeling pain. You know, because you're nervous, but you got to put your feelings aside and get it done. And so many times people would say, "How was it?" And I couldn't tell them, because you're doing what you got to do, and you're not stopping to think, I did this, I did that. And if it was a good outcome, I didn't focus on what happened. But if something didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, then you want to go back and retract, well, what could I have done, or what could have happened, or were they able to even be saved? But back, we did a couple of missions from Afghanistan, and they had numerous injuries. So with that was a more common state. But the Ramstein air show bombing, when it was chaotic, and you bring in all your resources, and you see what's happening there, and you know you've been in training, and you've had to go and triage people, and as I said, you pray, you get in the zone, and you do what you gotta do. And you still do that now. Something happens, they just call you, and you just start doing what you're doing.
That's all the training that you get, though.
Training, experience, and sometimes just what you see. Because there hasn't been any 2 incidents that were alike. Even down to labor and delivery, getting people to the hospital out of their cars. Because I did that over here in New Bern. Like, ER would call for us to come downstairs or meet the ambulance there. You don't know what you're going to get. Because sometimes people are drunk. Sometimes people have episodes of where they're trying to fight you. So you got to protect you got to protect them. And you just got to be a good team player, communicate, and be focused. And you go through a lot of training. And some of you hope you never have to use. And sometimes you've had to use it. Some of it, I never had to be where there was a gunshot wound involved. And we prepare for that all the time, because you're in the military, you're thinking about practicing with your guns, you're planning, but I didn't go into an active war zone. But I treated people that came out of the war zone with the Gulf War. And that's stuff sometimes you definitely don't want to remember.
Right.
You don't.
I'm thinking, one, you have a very strong stomach, and number two, it's like, you know, you treated these people who were actually in a war, and how is your mental health? How do you get through that?
Well, sometimes I do go back to and talk to the people in these groups. We'll talk about some of our own experience that we know other people didn't experience. I will never, ever forget the one guy. I don't even know why he was still alive, because his whole leg had a big hole in it that we had to dress or get ready for him to be transported. And you know, you want to wonder, did he make it? Did he lose his leg? Did he get a prosthetic device? I mean, there's some you remember and some, it all happened so fast. But I can just remember young guys over there crying for their moms when their moms are all the way back home. And sometimes it's just holding a hand. That's the most you could get, because that's all the time you had.
So, you know, it's very emotional and sad, because I'm sure you've seen many people maybe take their last breaths while you were over there.
I talk about that sometimes. Oh yeah, when I was doing oncology, that's why I was like, I can't wait for y'all to give me an assignment. I need to be out of this area. And they let me. Was it an area I wanted to be in? No. But I was out of that one, because that's just not fun.
So we talked about some sad times. Let's talk about the good times. Let's talk about the happy times. Tell me some of your
Happy
favorite
times.
memories.
Ooh. The very first one actually happened while I was in my medical training. I met to what is now one of my best friends. We're still together. We bonded with each other about 4 weeks into it, because at first you're like, who does she think she is, that kind of thing. But now that's one thing. We're the best of friends. We still keep up with each other. We still travel together. Because she and I have a bond that I would never even have with my own sisters. So she's like another sister. We call each other sisters.
Okay.
Sister Cynthia.
Aww.
One of the greatest Air Force ladies I know. So.
And some more happy times. Were there any good times when you were overseas?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, the traveling in Germany. So I always thought I would have to wait for my husband to travel. But I was a nurse on rotating shifts. So I either had to get out there, find some friends that wanted to travel, or travel alone. Because people still ask me to this day, you came by yourself? You drove all the way to D.C. here by yourself? Yes, because if I had to wait, my 3 years would have been up, and I'd have been waiting and probably had about 2 or 3 trips instead of 20 trips. In Germany, you get to drive as fast as you can. I only
The
had,
Autobahn, right?
yes, only had one accident. And I tried to drive 110 or get to 120, but I was too scared for that. I made it to like 90-something. And coming back, that was very hard to transition from. I got tickets after ticket after ticket here. I never hurt anybody, never had any accidents. But that was one experience that was really exciting for me. Riding on the train, I never rode a train until I got to Germany. So I could get on the train and go to Paris in no time. So the traveling was really good over there and exciting. And then I came back home to Oklahoma. From Germany to Oklahoma is a transition. I didn't stay that long either.
What is maybe the top things that the military taught you?
Ooh, the top thing.
Top things. It could be more than one.
Of course, adjusting to multiple personalities and multiple cultures. I'm a country girl where everybody knows everybody. So, of course, you have to adjust, and you don't have time to sit in a corner by yourself. You got to learn, live, and move, and adjust, and be respectful of what the other people are doing. And that worked out. It doesn't always work out for some people. And
what
the
did you learn
travel,
most about yourself?
that I'm a true Gemini. I'm very flexible.
We got to go back to that. You are true Gemini. When is your birthday?
June 15th.
Wow. Wow.
A Father's Day baby.
Right. I come a day before you, but yeah, that you're what does that mean to you though? In terms that maybe people aren't so familiar with zodiac signs.
Well, a Gemini, they're twins. That's the sign. So some days you're thinking, are you going to be happy? Are you going to be sad? And I even had a nickname for what I would call my other personality, Angelique. Because I'm like, if I'm crabby today, that's not me, that's Angelique. But usually I try to be happy-go-lucky, joke around, make the best of it, because the world gives you a whole lot of seriousness that you have to adjust to. And sometimes you have to figure out a way to not make it so stressful. So you figure out a way to kind of joke around it in a respectful way. But I blame any problems on the other personality. But for the most part, you're going to get Angela.
So, is there anything else you want to tell us about experiences? I know you probably don't want to go too deep into, the graphic details about, I was going to ask you, some of your craziest scenes that you have seen over your time. Like you said, the one man with the hole in his leg. Don't be too graphic, but what else kind of things have you saw? Sliced off fingers or?
I saw them before I left home.
It's not good.
Well, when you're working on a farm and, in the country. Let me see. I got to look and see. That guy. And it didn't even involve blood. It was the abnormal anatomy of the people that were being sent back from Afghanistan to the United States to get treatment here. Different limbs and places or twists or bends. For whatever reason, they were coming over here for surgery. It could have been their head. It could be an arm that's twisted all the way back where we couldn't even hardly put the gown on them or get vital signs. That's really different when you see what you thought was a foot that should have been pointing forward and it's pointing to the side, and they got different limps. I mean, it was a lot of body parts that you.
It doesn't bother you?
I mean, you got in a corner and talked to somebody about it when you saw it. And when I was in nursing school, they used to tell us we had to work on our face because you're going to smell stuff, you're going to see stuff that you never seen before. And we can't put every picture in a book. We can't write these smells in a book. And you're going to have some smells. So by the time I got to that part, we were just amazed. Because we were warned that you're going to see people that have these different abnormalities. Because we get the report before they arrive. So when we would get the report, sometimes you're waiting to see. So this man has 4 heads? So I didn't see that. I'm just saying as an example. In that case,
is that
you
real?
kind of get a
4 heads?
No, I said I didn't see that. I was just if that had happened, and then everybody is waiting to see what's going to happen or what you're going to see. because we didn't have social media, but somehow the word would get out that these people, because sometimes depends on what time they arrived, in the middle of the night or 2 o'clock in the morning, you get everybody at the hospital to meet you outside to help transport them in. Because you may not have enough wheelchairs, you may not have enough stretchers, and if you're on a stretcher, you're going to need 4 people. In your unit, usually we had 8 on site all the time. And when we were bringing those missions in, it would be like all hands on deck because you just did not know. And it was a challenge, too. That's the biggest thing. The blood doesn't bother me as long as it's not mine. So I can see blood all day.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
All right.
I can get a little paper cut, but your blood doesn't bother me. Message.
Tell us, please.
I mean, because we're living in a day, we got a hurricane out there right now we're thinking of, and that's why I thought about that. And my first assignment within my first year, I never dealt with hurricanes, and we would always just, if we had to deal with it, we would probably leave or go bunker down at home and pray. But they said, nope, everybody has to come to the hospital, leave whatever you have at home, or get what you're going to need for at least 3 days. We don't know what's going to happen. And it was 5 days before I got back home. We stayed at the hospital during Hurricane Elena at Keesler Air Force Base back in 1985, and I went in 84. So here I am away from home, never had anything like that. So now they say hurricane, yeah, I get a little scared, but I've been through some of it, and now I know if you got another place to go, leave town. But so my first big hurricane was with the military.
Yes, but at least you had other people there and everything. So.
Oh yeah, and nobody knew anything. That was the sad part.